Welcome to Clay Center Now. My name is Amy Bear and I'm with Clay County Economic Development Group. Today we are with a very special guest. His name is Jeff Geiser and with the Clay County Museum, and we're in front of the cabin in Clay County Museum, which is a really cool thing, and I want to welcome you this morning.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, yeah, and thanks for doing it. Now I want to ask you, tell us about your role here at the museum and how you ended up as the director.
Well, as most people know, the previous curator was Kathy Haney, and she died last June. And what happened was I had gone into the museum to find information about my house. A lot of people go there to find out when was my house built.
Okay.
And I went there in, oh my goodness, back in about 2002 and was talking to her, and I went back a couple of times and a couple more times, and she was digging out information for me. And then all of a sudden it was like I started looking at the information they had, and they have all these county records and they have a few city records, but there was no way to search them.
Oh.
Well, by trade, I'm a software engineer.
Okay.
And so all of a sudden I'm looking at it as, well, this is a big database problem. How do we solve this? How do we get it on the computer? So I started actually volunteering my time for, oh goodness, about 6 years after that. And then got a little bit of pay along the way, enough that I didn't go destitute. And Kathy and I developed a pretty good relationship. So what happened then is when she died, I was, we'll say, in the right place at the right time, and the board just said, why don't you take over? And I did temporarily. And then a couple of months after that, then the board went ahead and voted me in as full-time.
Yeah, that's definitely a right place at the right time moment. That's actually really amazing how things like that happen. Now, can you give us, our viewers, a brief history of the museum and the Historical Society for those of us, that may not be familiar with it and all that?
I will do my best.
Okay.
One of the things that happened just recently is we did a search on our newspapers, and it turns out we found out they tried to start the Clay County Historical Society back in 1940. They had 2 meetings, and then this was spread out quite a ways. They had 2 meetings, and then the war started, and it just disappeared. So then in about 73, the Library Club, which is an important part of most small communities, decided that they were going to start a collection, and they wanted to start a museum. So they collected for a few years. In the meantime, the Clay County Historical Society formed a board, formed a corporation, got started, and this was in 1973.
Okay.
After that, it started growing. The collection, 1975, is an important year because that's when, at least the story I was told, Kathy Haney goes to the hospital board. They're moving out of the old city hospital. When they move out, what are they going to do with the building? Would they be willing to give it to the museum? Sorry, the museum and the Historical Society are really the same thing.
Sure.
Okay, so they did not say yes right away. But as Kathy was walking out of the meeting, one of the board members from the hospital board came out and said, Kathy, you'll get it. You just got to give us a couple of weeks to get it all together. And sure enough, the museum in 1975 was housed in the Old City Hospital.
And tell our viewers what the Old City Hospital was like very briefly, for those of you that don't know what it was like.
The Old City Hospital was 3 stories tall. It was made out of mostly brick. The inside was almost all plaster. It was a 1925 building, so it was built very solid. And there were, of course, patient rooms on all the floors. They had ripped out a few of the walls down on the main floor and made bigger ones. There was an eating area they had and so on. So it was very utilitarian. Most of the rooms were all cookie cutters. They were about 10 foot wide and 14 feet deep. They had all solid doors, had a wonderful place, a couple of sun porches, and that's really what the building looked like.
Oh, wow.
And it was built originally with an elevator in it. So we actually had access to an elevator, which helped us tremendously when we're moving heavy stuff up and down. And so in 1975, the museum had hundreds of items come in. People were extremely enthusiastic about, let me donate this. And at that time, they took everything. Absolutely anything that came in, you know, it's, oh yeah, we'll take that. And Kathy was telling me later, she said, don't make that mistake. When we go into the new building, do not make that mistake. And we've learned.
Sure.
So, same thing happened in 1986. I never asked Kathy why, but in 1986, the exact same thing happened. We have hundreds of things that came in 1986. All of a sudden, the museum's full. What do you do? So, part of the history that I missed there was in 1963, the hospital actually gave their building, the old city hospital actually became a manor. And they did some renovation then. And then after that, the manor went away, the hospital still owned the building. So I'm sorry, I missed a piece in there. That's my mistake. So, all right.
All right, well, I think we're going to take a break right now, and Jeff kind of alluded to it a little bit ago. We're actually in the new facility for the Clay County Historical Museum, and we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes.
You're invited to come visit, shop, and spend some time in beautiful Clay Center, Kansas. A full house located at 510 Dexter in Clay Center is your upscale rent-to-own store with the lowest prices guaranteed. They only carry high-quality name-brand products that are made to last. At a full house, they put the customer first by offering free delivery and setup of all merchandise, free relocation while renting their products, free loaner services, and the best price guaranteed. Stop into a full house today for all your home furnishing needs. Shop beautiful Clay Center today and find what you've been looking for.
At Eagle Communications, we're proud to provide the communications services you need to get the most from today's technology. Our employee owners make it happen. We're part of your community, and we take pride in delivering excellent customer service. If you ever have a question, give us a call. We're here to help. Eagle Communications, our community connected.
Welcome back to Clay Center now. This is Amy Bear with Clay County Economic Development Group, and we're here with Jeff Geiser at the Clay County Museum. And Jeff, I wanted to, you alluded to it in our last segment, and we're in a new facility for you guys. Why don't you tell us what started the ball rolling with your moving to this new location?
Well, part of it, as we discussed, was we ran out of room. At the old city hospital, we had shelving that went clear to the ceilings in all of our storage rooms. I had gone in and we were putting steel shelving, stacking it 8-9 feet high.
Oh, wow.
And safely.
Sure.
But we were doing it. And Kathy knew that this building had been vacant for at least 5 years. And the best that I can remember is she called Jerry Orr.
Okay.
And was talking to him and asking him if he had had anybody who was interested in the building.
Okay, and what was the former usage of this building? Because this building itself actually has a fairly lengthy history to it.
The first building that was actually built on these lots was actually a stable.
Oh.
Then there was a blacksmith shop, and then I think it went back to a stable, but then it went to an implement store.
Okay.
But in 1925, they leveled everything that was here, and they built, actually it was a 2-story structure and a 1-story structure, side by side, as W.W. Smith & Sons.
Okay.
They were a very well-known implement dealer. As time went along, they not only did implements, they did cars. Actually, they did just about everything at one point. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then, in 1963, the Orrs, which are related by marriage to the Smiths, okay, so anyway, if you know Clay Center, the Orrs and the Smiths are pretty well hooked together. The Smiths moved out, the Orrs moved in, and this became the Orr Furniture City. And for those of you who don't remember that, it was actually almost as famous as the Nebraska Furniture Mart. It actually had people coming from 5 to 6 state area coming in to shop, and Raymond Orr would talk a deal. That's what Kathy told. I didn't know the guy, never met him, but Kathy said if you wanted a deal on furniture, he would deal. And Kathy was one of those who dealt.
Yeah, awesome. That's great. Now, I know you guys had to. You guys had a lot of square footage, that you were moving out of. One of our previous conversations, I remember you telling me in your previous location up where the old hospital was, you had about 15,000 square feet. What kind of square footage do you have in your new facility here?
Right. The square footage at the old hospital, I'm going to use different numbers,
okay,
but very similar. The old hospital had about 13,600 feet. Wonderfully, one floor of this showroom is 13,600 feet. So everything that was in the old hospital actually would have fit on this floor if we did nothing to it. So we have a first floor in this building, a second floor in this building, and then we have the warehouse out back. So we actually tripled our square footage by moving in here.
That is an amazing amount of square footage, and like you mentioned, you have a lot of artifacts in storage right now, and we can't. Really, I can't wait to see what you're able to put on display and what rotating displays you're having and all that good stuff. Now, tell us about the moving process into your new facility, because I know that in itself was quite the venture.
Oh, it was exciting is a good word. I like exciting for that one. So back in October of 2016, we had been putting out feelers about whether the new hospital, because of its expansion, wanted us to get out of the old city hospital. We didn't know that they had plans for it one way or the other, so we were putting out feelers. Well, all of a sudden we get a call from the county commissioners, and they wanted to meet with me. Went and talked to them, and they're saying, well, it turns out that the expansion would really like you out of there so we can destroy the building, and it'll just become part of a big parking lot there. And I said, okay, I can actually be out. I was planning on being out for Piatique of 2017, which is September. And at that time, it was like, oh, okay. Well, the next thing it was, well, we need you out by the time they break dirt at the new expansion. Well, that's in March. I can probably do that. Okay. The next thing I know, it's, well, we need you out in February.
Oh.
And I'm not going to bore you with all the details, but out in February. And then it was out in January. And the next thing I knew, that we were actually discussing, can we get you out by the new year? And I said, Jerry Mayo was the county chairman at the time. And he said, I'm sorry, I turned to him and I said, Jerry, you're talking 2 weeks away. I can't move a museum in 2 weeks. I'm sorry, it's not doable. And anyway. So to make the story a little bit shorter, what ended up happening was the county commissioners were wonderful. They helped pay for a few of the boxes, and they brought in a professional moving company.
Oh.
One of the other things that happened timing-wise was amazing, was Donna Long and the church she goes to had talked to me about getting a group in called AmeriCorps. They bring in a group of kids, about a dozen of them, and they help you do whatever you need done. Well, the professional moving company came in 1st of January. The AmeriCorps team came in that first week of January. It all fell together. We had already started boxing everything, and we got moved in a week.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I mean, especially moving that amount of artifacts in that amount of time is such a momentous, I mean, a monumental task. I mean, I couldn't imagine trying to do something like that. So where are you at in terms of remodeling the current space that you guys are in right now?
Well, we're moving along quite rapidly. We've been putting up quite a bit of paint.
Okay.
Quite a bit of drywall. We tore a lot of stuff out so we just have big spaces. And we got our fire and smoke system in, which was a big thing because that really slowed us down. And it's actually active right now. Hopefully it doesn't go off in the middle of this. But now we're putting in emergency exit signs and all the other stuff. We've got a lot of signs to put up. we still have a lot of paint to do.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
But we're making good progress.
That's great. That's great. Well, we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of a break. In our next segment, we're definitely going to talk about what's coming up for the museum in the future.
Around here, we believe in local values like hard work, family time, or a fair price on reliable internet from a local company. That's why Eagle Communications delivers great local values, like a range of internet options to fit your family's needs. Fast and consistent enough to power everyone's devices at once. All at reasonable prices we're proud to offer our friends and neighbors. Ready for better internet? Give us a call or visit eaglecom.net and discover our local values today.
At Eagle Communications, we deliver what matters to your business. Our services are fast, reliable, secure, and competitively priced, giving you more value for your hard-earned business dollar. With Eagle Communications, you're not just another number, you're part of our business family. And we deliver peace of mind with local technicians who provide dedicated system monitoring and support. Connect to something better. Call Eagle Communications, and let's talk about what matters to your business.
Welcome back to Clay Center Now. I'm Amy Baer with Clay County Economic Development Group, and we've been talking with Jeff Geiser, who is the director of the Clay County Museum. And in our last segment, we were talking about how they had moved into the new location in downtown Clay Center, and you guys have some great plans for a grand reopening. Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, it's going to be a full week, a very full week. On the 23rd, we're actually doing a sneak peek.
And that's of September, correct?
I apologize. Yes, it is. Good thing you said something.
Wanted to make sure that we had that straight for our viewers today.
All right. So September 23rd, there we go. We're having a sneak peek, and that is by invitation only.
Okay.
And what we're doing is we're celebrating with the people who donated money to help us get the building, get it remodeled. We're also inviting all our volunteers and all our lifetime members.
Oh.
We've already got over 150 signed up to come in. So that's on the Saturday before Piatique.
Okay.
On Monday, the 25th, yes, the 25th, we are actually going to have a group of veterans from our local VFW come in and give a program on the Vietnam War.
Oh.
And I'll explain why we're doing these in a minute.
Okay.
On Tuesday, Viva, I can't pronounce her name. She's a very well-known quilt lady in this area. She's going to give a talk and compare quilts from the 1910s to the 1960s. Then on Thursday night, we're going to get Joe Basso in, who's a well-known historian from Abilene, and he's going to talk about World War I. Then the big event, of course, for us is Piatique.
Oh, okay. So why don't, can you tell our viewers briefly about what Piatique is and what you guys are doing to help essentially kind of, promote your grand reopening for that?
Well, Piatique is our fall festival here in Clay Center, and we usually get 2,000 to 3,000 people out to come around and just have a good time around the square. We are going to have a reenactor here, professional reenactor. He's going to do Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh, that's fascinating.
And he's going to give a talk in the morning at 10:30. He's going to give a talk at 3:30.
Okay, and where are those talks located at?
That's at our new facility.
Awesome.
So we're doing our grand opening. We're doing a ribbon cutting in the morning at 10:15. The reenactor starts at 10:30. He's going to go in the parade then at 2 o'clock. At 3:30 he comes back, he gives a talk, and then anybody who wants to come in the museum that whole day, we're wide open.
Oh, that's fascinating. I'm so excited to have you guys, because I know you guys have been closed for the renovation for several months, and it'll be such a great asset to Clay Center and Clay County to have, the museum back open again and ready to take visitors once again. So that's super exciting. So you kind of briefly touched on it a little bit in my last question. I'm kind of wanting to know about your staff, your volunteers. What fundraising efforts have you had to this date?
Well, I'll touch on fundraisers first. Kathy Haney, we go back because she's the guiding force to get us here. When we first started looking at this building, we knew it was going to cost a lot of money. We ended up getting professionals in here, getting estimates. They were rough estimates, and we started a fundraiser of $500,000 was the goal. Excuse me. The fact is that we went over that goal because one of the things we didn't know about was the fire and smoke system. Okay. So our fundraiser, we actually are at $480,000.
Oh, okay.
Okay. We have just enough money to do everything we want to do to get us in here for the grand opening, but it's really tight. So we're still looking for money.
Okay.
And we get some coming in.
Oh, yeah.
And we appreciate all of it. I have to say that. All right. So
Absolutely.
we also have a staff of 3. Diana Shaner, Angelique Nelson, myself are the paid staff. We have a couple of SER employees, which is a re-education program.
Okay.
And then we have several volunteers. We have 2 that come in almost every day, Barb Booth and Chuck Malin. And right now they're all helping us get ready for our timeline that we're going to put up. Because it turns out what's funny is we have all kinds of events to put on the timeline starting way back. But once you get up to about 1950, we don't have any because nobody wrote them down.
Oh.
So
well, yeah, and then, you know, in modern history, it definitely is so important, you know, I mean, it's just really just as important as, you know, history that happened in, you know, the 1800s, early 1900s. I mean, all of the history is such an important aspect of life, you know, in North Central Kansas and in Clay County. So yeah, that's definitely something that should be definitely promoted and archived as well, because, you know, generations from now they're gonna look back and have all that information that they definitely need. So you kind of touched on it a little bit ago. So what are your immediate needs for the future in the next year or so?
Well, we're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to go into the digital era.
Okay.
We're going to be scanning the rest of the newspapers. We are going to need people. We are going to be changing displays better than we did at the old place. We're going to be changing displays, probably 1 display every month.
Oh, wow.
And that takes a lot of effort and a lot of thinking. And we appreciate anybody who would come in and help us with that. That's sort of the immediate funds are really tight. Our budget is tight. So it would be wonderful if we keep getting donations in, and we appreciate that.
Okay.
But that's our immediate needs.
Okay, awesome. Now, what kind of hours are you going to be open? Do you charge admission for your visitors to come in? What's the structure of that?
We have never charged. Our board doesn't plan on us ever charging an entry fee. That may change, we don't know. But our hours will be Monday through Friday, 12 to 7. And on Saturday, it'll be more like, we haven't quite got it all decided yet.
Okay, that's all right.
But it'll be around 10 to 5.
Okay.
And Sunday 1 to 5.
Okay, that's actually a pretty expansive hours. So what's for anybody that wants to come and visit and isn't terribly familiar with Clay Center, what's the street address for the new museum?
Street address is 518 Lincoln Avenue. And for those of you who do not have GPS, we're directly south of our courthouse.
That is very true, and our courthouse is just as historic as well. So, and now with that, we're going to wrap up with this edition of Clay Center Now. If you are watching us on Eagle TV, thank you for doing that. You can also catch us and other previous episodes on our YouTube channel. And we thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next month.